Morning, everyone. Okay, let's start the show and start sculpting. Today I'm gonna continue on with the cloth, and hopefully we'll get to the shoes or the other details. I do want to tweak some hairs for later on, but like for example, I have a gap in between the head and the ears, and also if I hide the back of the hair, you have this kind of like huge gap in between, so I'm gonna fill that later on. But for now, let's just get the shoes done. And I'm thinking about getting a high heel. So what I want to do is use extract to get the basic shape. I think just one side of the shoe is fine. So getting a shape like this, and maybe tweaking a bit. Something like this. And getting the shape out of it, like this. So what I want to do is tweak the shape a little bit more using inflate. And using some move. And I don't want to get it too big because like I tend to make the shoes a bit too much big because I'm not using perspective, and if I use perspective, it's gonna be a bit more accurate. But like if I turn off perspective, it's gonna like if you look down from the top, it's gonna be the same size. So you have the brain thinking you have perspective, but in actuality you don't have it. So you tend to have a bigger shoes when doing this. So just be careful when doing so, or just turn on perspective while just making these shoes. Cheers from Ecuador and awesome content. Thanks. Currently, it's 6 a.m. in Japan. And what time is it in Ecuador? Ecuador time. Oh, it's in the evening. Huh, nice. Okay, so perspective makes it harder to move the cameras. Okay, so I'm making this area a separate polygon. Maybe just need a harder transition. Something like this. And maybe a bit more smaller. Polishing it a bit, and smooth mode 6. And maybe a bit more smaller, I guess. I need to separate this polygroup. Move infinity depth. This one. Currently it's just a rough shape, so I'm not really, I don't really care about the details yet, but I need to get the overall shapes. And I think I need to look at a couple of references. As a Colombian, you think might be work for Japan. As a 3D artist, of course. Went to Japan a couple of years ago, and I'm crazy to go back. Maybe live there for a while. Hard to say. Like, you don't really have much 3D jobs that people who can't really talk Japanese, and you have a couple of companies who will talk in English for you, but usually you have to have a certain amount of like skill that like kind of benefits the company. So you have the situation where you need to have a higher skill set than the average Japanese guy in the field. So those kind of like stuff exist. Is there a chance that you could do a tutorial for Goblin? Goblin. I need to think about that. Like, it's not my strong field, so search heels. Okay, so need to tweak the silhouettes a bit more. I think it's fine to just change the polygons. Yeah, something like this. It's a bit more easier to tweak. I need to start practicing my Japanese. Yeah, it is a bit demanding. Like, it's a bit hard to satisfy a Japanese company, but yeah, if you think you have the skill set, or sometimes like you have a couple of companies where there's already a English speaking Japanese person who is available in the team, so they could hire a non like Japanese speaking personnel. So that companies could exist. So it's just like a chance. Like, you can ask them around and then see what kind of companies fits you the most. But those kind of like people are pretty rare, so most people in Japan don't really need to have the skill to talk in English, so that tends to be the reason why well, Japanese education sucks, and no, the Japanese English education sucks, and that tends to be the reason why the English skill doesn't really mature in Japan. Kind of sucks. Want to be my sensei? No, I don't really teach Japanese. Like I didn't really learn to speak English by learning grammar. Like I had to like learn it on the on location. Basically, it's like on the job training, but you're in school. So I don't really have the sense to talk English and at the same time, like I don't really have the education to speak Japanese. Like I just had to learn it naturally, so I don't really have the like capacity to teach you these kind of like languages. You know what I mean? I noticed that, and I'm like, I thought I could be like a perfect talking English there, but actually we got to communicate. Yeah, and some companies like do have this kind of like capacity to have people working under their branch, but usually it tends to have some communication differences or difficulties doing the workers. So, and usually the companies has a different kind of like mentality or like mindset compared to the Western companies. So you have this kind of like stuff as well. Like people tend to expect like nine to 5 jobs, but not usually the case in Japan. So. Okay, so I need to have some kind of like base so I can see if the leg is landing properly on the base. You can do this with floor views, but usually floor doesn't really like it's hard to see if it's totally flat or not. So. Yeah. For Japan, like, it's pretty different when you start to live in Japan, and like coming here as a tourist is a different kind of like story. So I know a couple of like foreigners complain about Japan being a like high standard of living. Like you need to maintain a certain level of like standards to just live there. But usually I see it the other way round. Other way round. You can say that like you need to have a higher standard, but the society requires a higher standard, so the people who can't really do those kind of like stuff can be like supported and sustained. So usually Japan has a higher demand for people who can follow like supplying those kind of like demands. And if you're the guy who can't really like supply those kind of like demands, like you have like, for example, if you have a lower wage, people will support you as more than the other countries, or some in some cases. So there's this kind of like safety net in Japan. So those stuff kind of exist, but at the same time, like some people don't really like those kind of like higher demanding societies. So and usually if you're a tourist, like Japanese people tend to like support you much more, because especially Japanese people want the tourists or the people who are coming from outside to have a good time. So what people would start demanding if you start living here would be the people to do those kind of like stuff to other people. So it's hard to say, like I don't know how to say this, but you like, it's like becoming a family. Like if you become the family, you have a higher like higher standard to follow. But if you're just a friend coming to your house, you don't need to like follow the house rules and stuff like that. But it's like the mentality is like that. So like if you're just coming for a party, you don't need to follow, like you don't need to clean the dishes, you don't need to care about the house after the party, right? But if you're a like house member who's living in the house, you can't really mess up the room. So that's the basic like kind of like rule for Japan. Like they expect and demand more for you. Yeah, of course, yeah. So that's basically Japan in a nutshell. So people expect more from you if you live in Japan. It is a bit demanding, but like if you get used to it, like it's nothing. Like also sometimes it's hard for like in like people who believe in individualism. So if they have a belief that you like people should accept like different kind of like mindsets, and people don't need to like follow other people's like things. That's kind of like individualism. But in Japan, it's more like a hive mindset. So you need to follow the well, we call it seken. Seken is what kind of like it's like a standard of the people who live there. So you need to be a bit aware of what kind of like opinion you would get if you start like interrupting other people and stuff like that. So you need to be aware of those kind of like stuff, but it's not really that hard if you get the gist. But if you stop breaking those kind of like stuff and get like making noise or like stop making annoyance, then you'll get kicked, pretty much like easily kicked out of this society. So so yeah, I think that's the hardest part, like to live in Japan. So some people don't follow those kind of like stuff, stop breaking things, and then they'll get really stop pissing people off. So your name sounds like a name from one anime called the Inazuma 11. Yeah, the football game, right? I don't know the details, like I'm not really the fan of the Inazuma 11 series, so but Daisuke is a common name for a lot of people, and especially like I see a lot of people who do sports, like for example baseball, football and stuff like that, to have Daisuke in their name. Yeah, the hardest part is Japanese. Like you need to learn hiragana, katakana, kanji, and stuff like that. So I guess especially if you like start searching things on the internet, you have YouTube videos where a person who started to live in Japan had a huge dream, and he's now heartbroken that he can't really like live in Japan with their like dream at the same level before they came. Those kind of like reality exists, but it's just like the other countries. Like if you start living here, you see finer details of like what kind of like stuff you have to follow or be expected to live. It's hard to say. Like I can't really talk down on people who had their dreams broken. So. why we have that kind of like balance, to be honest. I guess it's like a Shintoism and old traditional things. And we had a past where we went too far, like following too much the Western kind of like approach of things. And I guess people didn't really see a benefit after that, so. But for me, like, I don't really want to work for a Japanese company that much, because a couple of things. The mindset is pretty much different, so. They don't really expect you to like change things dramatically as well. Like, unless you're asked to change things, like you're likely disturb a lot of people who don't want to change things. So usually they're pretty much conservative in their jobs. They don't want to change things. But if you start changing things, you're just gonna annoy a lot of people who work there. So. Do you think sculpting is necessary for game dev? Depends on what kind of like game you're making. So if it's like really low poly, and then if it's really stylized, maybe not. But usually companies are like trying to do some like photorealistic stuff, then likely you're gonna have to do some like higher detail sculpting as well to make the normal maps and stuff like that. And if you look at like Unreal Engine and stuff like that, you can see the trend is to go to the same level as the movies. And those are usually higher detail, and for movies they have a workflow that uses ZBrush a lot. So I don't know how the trend will go, but for now it tends to be like that. How many pieces do you think a portfolio of that should have? How hard is it to get 3D character industry? 3D character industry is pretty hard, man. Like, because it's really competitive. It's not how many characters you need, or like how many hours you need to spend, or something like that. It's not just numbers. You have to have a really good skill set, or like if you have enough skill set, you can have like just 2 or 3 works, and then if it's good enough, then it's good enough. But at the same time, if you're a student who's like starting to get into the business, and then if your skill set is not really matured yet, and then you have the like you spend hours and hours, you have like 200 works that you can show and stuff like that, but those kind of numbers doesn't matter if you have one guy on the other side making cool stuff that you can't really do. So those especially character design or like character artist is really demanding, and it's likely you have a like very good artists on the other side of the table taking up the most of the job positions and stuff like that. So likely if you just want to get into the job, and then if you want to improve, likely you better off finding a different position, like for example a prop artist or asset kind of like modeler or sculptor, and then taking the time to learn things as well. And it depends on like if you're like looking for a movie industry job, or is it a game company job, or just a casual like figurine artist kind of like job, or it depends. Like if it's a figurine industry, like you don't really need to like learn about rigging. You just need to have a good sculpt at the end. But if it's for like movie industries, you need to have a good understanding of like how the production works as well. So there's a couple of like stuff that you need to understand between the jobs, and they have different kind of like standards as well. Do you work in an industry? Like I work for Pixologic. Like you can see underneath it says developer stream. I know I look like, yeah, I know I look young, but I'm 30 years old. I can clean up your desk. Yeah, yeah, my room needs some cleaning, but I don't need a worker for that. Yeah, I don't know why, but like I get asked these kind of like questions a lot, like how old are you and stuff like that. Like you look young, are you a kid and stuff like that. Like I get it. Like Asians kind of like look young, or especially look young than other people. looks fine. Looks fine for rough. Well, talking about Japan, like I'm watching the Tokyo Olympics lately, and like a couple of incidents were pissing people off, and I really find that funny. I'm not really finding it funny that people are getting pissed, but like I'm finding the things that Japanese people tend to get pissed is pretty funny. Because, for example, there was a bed in Olympics athletes, like, what do you call those? Village, and you had a bed in supplied by the Japanese like organizers, and it was a cardboard bed. So it's made out of paper, and it's stronger than you think. But when the news broke out, it was called a anti-sex bed because the cardboard bed looks like it's fragile, and like they were calling out, oh, Olympics game doesn't really want the athletes to have an intimate relationship between with each other and stuff like that, and they were accusing of the bed being really, really fragile. And after that, the Irish athlete, I think it was a trampoline. Well, he was testing out the beds and calling out it's a fake news, and he showcased the bed was really, really strong, and even the official Twitter clarified that it can take up to 220 kilograms of weight. So it's extra like over-engineered for a bed, right? And like people find that funny. But then I think it was an Israeli athletes had an idea for a TikTok movie, and then they put the bed to the test, and then 9 athletes got on the bed and then jumped on it to break it, right? And then yeah. And Japanese people got really, really pissed off because they thought they took the time, and then the athletes spoiled it as well. So, and you have people calling out Israel's athletes to to apologize and stuff like that, and they did apologize, but the Japanese people are still pissed. So you have those kind of like situations where if you break things, if you spoil the food, you can easily piss off a lot of Japanese people, and you get remembered for that forever. So. And on the other side, you have, I think it was a Canadian journalist or Olympian who was like, who wanted to eat onigiri, and she didn't really know how to open up the package, and a lot of people went to her Twitter and like just gave her a lot of instructions of like how to open up the package really nicely, and she tried that out, and then she was really, really happy about it. And so you have those kind of like contrast between people getting a lot of like support if they are happy, and people who break things, being rude, getting a lot of backlash and stuff like that. So you have the huge contrast between the two. So if you're a foreigner who's happy and like shows that kind of like emotions constantly, you get rewarded for those kind of like appeals, that people would support you to do those kind of like stuff. But if you're a person who's gonna bitch a lot and break things, you get into fights, you get into mess, then you're gonna have the opposite effect of like people don't like you, or people hating on you and stuff like that. So so yeah, that's Japan in a nutshell. And I think every country would have those kind of like stuff. So if you're complaining about the country, if you like complaining about the stuff and complaining about the stuff around you, you're gonna have a harder time, like basically. But if you enjoy it, and then if you show that kind of like enjoyment through your experience, you're gonna have a better experience overall because you're happy. People would likely to support you. Those kind of stuff. So. It's so funny. So I can link you to the Onigiri Twitter. Let me see. Yeah, everything is like that. Yeah, it's same for like game industries and same for the 3D industries. If you're having fun, you're gonna have the better experience overall. So this is before, like before she was opening up the package for the first time, like she was confused, right? And then after that, you have the contrast between she's very happy about the experience. And you can see that she's eating tuna mayonnaise onigiris, and like I think she likes the flavor. So Japanese people tend to like these kind of like stuff. So. And on the contrast, you have people breaking up their beds and stuff like this. So there's a insider article talking about the bed getting broken, and people are pissed, very pissed. Self-eating bentos, yeah. They are a bit expensive because the material they use for like heating up the stuff is a bit more expensive than the um, average like bento. So it's gonna cost you a bit more than the usual bento you can just heat up with a cheaper amount of like money. But yeah, for eating hot stuff in the like Shinkansen, you kind of like have those kind of stuff. it's using some like thermal reactions between I think it was metal, or another one was, I think it was water and lime. I don't remember specifically. Also, you have a bento. You can just pour in water, and then you have a naturally heated up food. It's like okay, so it's using calcium oxide. It's basically using what do you call it? Quick lime and water to heat up this stuff. And you just need to like pull the string, and then the separations get like mixed, and then you get a heated up bento. So that's how it's done. Also, you have another thing which is using, this is not a food, but like you have a metal and you have a oxidizer, and then you have a package. You just like shake it before you use it, and then that bag turns into a heating bag. And yeah, and that's from Japan as well. I don't know how you call it overseas. Hand warmer. Really? Just hand warmer? Yeah, you have a disposable personal heating thing. Yeah, if you search Hokkaido, you have a guide showing what kind of like stuff is it. So yeah, Colombia. You don't need a hand warmer, right? But yeah, these kind of like stuff exist. And you have the opposite one as well. You have instant freeze bag. So there's a bag where usually you shake it, then it freezes instantly. Or you have another one, you just punch it, then it instantly freezes. And it's called punch, cool, long. Punch, cool, long. Yeah, so if you search the term, you can see it says punch, cool. Instant coolant. So you have a lot of weird stuff in Japan that you might not really see outside. Like, I haven't seen this outside of Japan, to be honest. Like, yeah, I think you can just make a business out of it as well. I bet you're gonna have a guy who's selling you instant freeze bags with like flex tape, like marketing guy, and just slapping a tape. And in this case, like, you're just gonna have a guy who's slapping a bag and then instantly freezing. Huh. Like ramens. People tend to think ramen is an easy thing to make, but like usually it takes hours to make, and it's not really easy. Like you like, if you search the term ramen and how to, I think it was how to make ramen or something like that. How to make ramen. You have a guy spending hours making ramen. So yeah. Yeah, the boiled noodle itself is really easy to do. It really depends on the how you can get the noodles itself. Is the hardest part when it comes to ramens, but the ramen itself, the hardest part is the broth. So you have that soup, and that's gonna take ages to make. So you hear a lot of like stories in Japan where they wanted to quit becoming being a salaryman, and then they change jobs, and then what they come up with is a ramen restaurant, and they don't really know how to make ramen, and they have a hard time really learning the reality of becoming a entrepreneur in that way, and they quit instantly, and that kind of stuff, is really common. So they don't really do the research beforehand and think it's easy, and then the dream becomes broken instantly. Food related stuff is especially hard in Japan. Like, if you're not really, if making food is not your dream work, it's not really worth the time to spend doing those kind of like stuff, because the regulation is so hard. You need to follow up those kind of like high standards of things. So yeah. So I had a person who was making bread for a living, and he quit his job because he had to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and work up till I think it was 19 o'clock. So it's 16 hours of work. So and he just wanted to have a personal time, so he quit his job, and he was complaining about food being a really high standard of like a thing to follow. So the regulation body is really strict, and your customers really demand you to the customers really expect you to do that thing really as a normal thing to do. So you have people don't really expect you to have, and people don't expect you to do a lot of things, but at the same time they are asking a lot of things unknowingly. So you have that kind of like situation where you don't really understand. You get people frustrated because you didn't really do the thing, but those kind of stuff is really hard to do. So well, in Japan you have real cooks, well versed in the craft. Yeah. So you have really passionate people who don't really care how many hours you work for. They just want the customers to be satisfied with the food, and they just want that reward. And for that to happen, you have to follow higher standards, and they expect you to have that high standard from the get-go if you're working for a food related company or food related business. So yeah, and too much competition as well. And you need to run your store entirely as well. So you gotta run the store, think about business, think about food, think about how to get customers, how to market your stuff, how to make a brand out of it. And then you have to keep a good relationship with the business you're having with a big customer and stuff like that. But what they want is just happy faces. If the customer is satisfied, they'll be really happy about it. Usually Japanese customers tend to be really harsh on their standards. They like, if you go to Amazon and see some like reviews on the products, usually if it says like 3 stars, it's usually good. If it's 5 stars, it's like impossibly good, or like it's paid. And like 4 stars, it's very, very good. And when it comes to food, the food is impossible to satisfy. Like the top rated restaurants in like the Tokyo area, if it's close to 4 stars, then that's the top level quality you have for food. You don't have 5 stars. No. And the reviews are really, really harsh. Like, some people are assholes. Like, I can't believe some people are that harsh to each other. So. But when it comes to food, oh man, it's really harsh. Takayama ramen? I don't know. Some like ramen chains has some like difference between the branches. There's a couple of like ramen places where the owner is just rude, and they get sometimes cancelled. But sometimes you have a rare case where the owner is rude, but the food is really, really good. Those kind of like stuff exists. And like there was a famous ramen restaurant where the owner doesn't really want to make a rice, what was it? Cooked rice. They call it chahan. I don't know. Fried rice. So we have a fried rice which originates from China, and usually ramen restaurants have ramen and fried rice, and the owner, because the owner can't really like use the pans really well, because like he has a back pain and he's doing this for a long time, but he's struggling with back pains, right? And like people still order fried rice because the fried rice was better than the ramen itself. So you have a customer who knows the owner hates people if they order fried rice, but they still kept on like ordering fried rice from the owner, and he was like saying, oh, what do you want to order? Please don't order fried rice. And then the customer orders fried rice. you have those kind of like weird situations where the owner is going through a lot of pain to just satisfy the customers. Like, just take it off the menu. Like, what are you thinking? Yeah, it was like, it was a famous like picture where a guy like just ordering fried rice, and the owner said he was like cussing. Yeah, so this is the ramen restaurant I'm talking about, and there was a TV crew which went there, and they were having that kind of like situations on TV. So like I'm gonna show you this one. It's like, this is what's placed on the storefront. It says to the customer, people say our fried rice is good, but it's not good as the people say it is. We recommend fried chicken instead. Like, what? This is so funny, like. But yeah, poor guy. Like he has a huge back pain, and I think the store closed as well. Yeah, but I think he just wants to satisfy the customers. Also, it says for the people who don't like ramen, or if you can't eat ramen, and like if you don't want to eat ramen, don't come into the store. Um, the owner, it says oyaji. Oyaji means like usually father or the store owner of the ramen restaurant. Um, wants to like wants to like have the customers really satisfied with like ramen and fried rice, and he's making the ramens really carefully. So if you don't like ramen, if you can't eat ramen, if you don't want to eat ramen, don't come to the like restaurant. It says that. So yeah. So the staff doesn't really want to hurt the owners or the guys feelings by like having a harsh customer who's coming to the store, who's coming to the restaurant, complaining about the food when they even know it's a restaurant, a ramen restaurant, and people want to avoid those kind of like conflicts. So. Yeah, you have weird customers as well. Like you have customers who complain about food, and then they know it's a ramen restaurant, and they come there and they say why it's a ramen restaurant. I want to eat something else. Like some people don't have brain cells, right? I don't know. So today's takeaway is just if you want to piss off Japanese people really, really quickly, it's food and breaking things. Don't do it. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions related to ZBrush, like let me know. Why am I talking about Japanese food and ramen and stuff like that? But yeah, like feel free to ask. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fun. I do have a same kind of like mentality as well. Like I want people to have a fun time sculpting as well. So unlike the ramen restaurant, like I'm not making ramens, but like I want people to have fun and satisfied. Not by food, but more like sculpting clay. I'll stuff you with clay then. You guys have like a school program or something like that? I know Paul, one of our staff is doing a class in Nomen, but we don't really have a class or a school program right now. No, but we have educators who are teaching ZBrush usage. Like for example, you can look up Shane Olsen. You have a polygon. Shane Olsen. And you have, it depends on what you want to do, but you have jewelry related stuff, which is Thomas Wittelsbach. And you have let me just type it for you. And you have Spicer as well. Spicer. Sorry, I can't remember the full name. Spicer Dojo. Spicer McRoy. Yep. McLeroy. So if you look up these names, you'll find a class which could fit you nicely. So Shane is doing characters, Polygon is doing characters more stylized, and Tomas is doing more jewelry stuff, and Spicer is doing characters, more photorealistic stuff. I know you can't talk about specifics, but are you excited for the new ZBrush feature you're testing? Oh, you throw the curveball at me, like. Yeah, I can't talk about the future development stuff, so there's that. I'm always excited. What are you talking about? Yeah, so if you're gonna ask me what's your feeling about the new features, yeah, I'm excited. I can't talk more from on the show or anywhere, but yeah, you'll be surprised as well. Oh, thanks. Well, Pixologic, we Pixologic tend to like love surprises, so we usually want to keep things private and like keep a tight lip until we are ready to show things. Also, for the classes, you can just watch a couple of like streams, and then like if you like the streams or if you like the streamers, I think you can just get in touch with the streamers itself and then ask a few questions, and then if you have any like technical, like for example, if you want some critiques, you can ask them personally as well. But don't be too pushy. If they don't have the time, they don't have the time. So just ask them casually if they have the time. Critiques takes much more time than you expect, so. I respect artists who are spending time to actually go through other people's artwork and then putting comments or critiques, making them better. I really respect them. You can't really, like, I don't usually do those kind of like stuff. I don't think myself is qualified to comment on other people's work that much, so yeah, that's that, and I don't really have the capacity to do it as well, so. I think I can comment on like anime styled figures or like sculpting, but in general, like you can ask Sakaki-san or like Sakaki Kaoru for more advanced advices. Like, why settle for me if you have the masterclass figurine artist? Like, do you also change brush intents regularly, like the brush size? Depends. Like, for example, like if I'm using standard brush, damn standard brush, I tend to change these settings a lot because it's gonna have a different kind of like effect for each stroke or every tweak I do. So you just need to know what kind of like effect you're looking for. And then if the sculpt gets at the end of the like process, like you want to have more finer control than the rough control like I'm doing right now. So you're gonna use a bit more weaker intensity. You're not gonna tweak a huge chunk of mesh at the end, right? I think I should add thickness to this. if you have this kind of like twisting happening, this is because of the smooth settings. So it's better to just tweak the smooth settings if you have this kind of like thickness. And then if your mesh is twisting, and then if you want to tweak the parameters to not make this not happen, usually it's better to just like use the smoothing, or you can use the post subdivisions off, so it will apply the subdivisions while you change the thickness. Let me see if I can match. It's fine for 004. So what post subdivision does is post subdivision will first apply the subdivisions first, and then you will add the thickness. But if you turn off the post subdivisions, it's gonna add thickness first, and then we'll add the subdivisions of the dynamic subdivisions. So currently I have 2 set on this, so it's gonna apply 2 subdivisions after or before, depending on the setting. I'm not sure what color I should pick, but I think it's this kind of color could be nice. But it does look the same kind of like colors, so maybe a bit more flashy colors, red. Let me see. We could use brighter colors. Could be nice. Or we could just keep the darker colors or darker tones. Well, let's see after we do some sculpting then. We could change it after that. thanks. I hope you like it. Oh, talking about Japan, in summer we have a huge like cicada population, and like you see a couple of like YouTubers getting comments like yeah, the bug noise is really like noisy, get it out of your videos and stuff like that. But it's part of Japan's summer and you can't really get rid of it. And I see a lot of like YouTubers getting annoyed with that kind of like comments. I think it was Abroad in Japan was talking about the Japan, like he was taking videos on, I think it was Osaka Castle, and the comments was filled with like, the bug is so noisy, why would you take a video around that and stuff like that. But you can't get rid of those sounds and noises. And you have different type of cicadas, and one is a different tone compared to the other, and you have those kind of like annoying ones. So one is called aburazemi. Aburazemi is more, if you listen to the sound, it's gonna make you a bit like feel the like heat compared to the other ones, and I kind of hate that one, but it's part of Japan's summer. The kind of don't let you sleep at night. Yeah, if it's like sticking, if the cicada is like sticking to your like window at the night, and then it's making noises, it's gonna make you hard time to sleep. Those are the only one I hate, the ones that don't let you sleep. Yeah. But usually at night there are different insects who are more fitting, I should say. So you have more crickets compared to the midday. So you have cicadas like screaming you in the lunchtime, and then you have crickets in the night. So you have those kind of like situations. I went for Momijo, close to winter. Yeah, Momiji, yeah. Yeah, so if you come to Japan in winter or autumn, you're gonna have a better experience overall compared to the summer. Well, I usually don't recommend people come to Japan during the summer because it's gonna suck. You're not gonna have enough like cherry blossoms or no momijis and stuff like that. You don't have red leaves. and you're just gonna have a huge heat wave and so much what do you call those, humidity in the air. You're gonna get sick. So when I went to LA a couple of years ago, like I heard the heat was like pretty bad, and like it's like it will burn your skin and stuff like that. But I went there and I didn't really have any like bad experience. Like the heat was not too bad. Like you just need to put some sunscreen to prevent your skin from burning. But that was pretty much it. But in Japan, like you can pretty much die from heat as well. So we have people dying in the summer because of the heat and the humidity, and people don't notice that they're getting a lot of heat because they turn off the air conditioning and then just straight pass away when they were sleeping. And after a couple of hours of like sitting in the heat, they don't really recognize their body is like out of temperature and stuff like that. And yeah, you have a couple of populations dying from summer. And it pretty much sucks, as you can expect. Yeah, humidity is not a good combination. Like I think Japan's summer is pretty much the worst. Like I've been to England and I've been to a couple of like EU countries. The summer is not bad in those countries. Like Japan is the worst. Also, you have typhoons as well. Like, I think I should make the heels a bit more lighter color because it's not standing out properly. And I think what I should do is put some hairbands, I guess. What do you call those? I think darker tone should be nice because her hair is a bit lighter color, so it needs some contrast. Hi, welcome. 37 degrees? Wow. Wow. I wonder what temperature in Japan right now. So it's currently 27 degrees. Yesterday didn't reach 30 degrees. But it's estimated to go 30 degrees tomorrow. But the humidity is like 75%. So the air is like 70%. Humidity is 75%. So you have the situation where you feel more the heat compared to a more drier air. If you like ramen, you will love the sangocho. How do you pronounce this? Oh, is it using coconut milk? Sangocho. Oh, it's a stew from the corn, chicken, and potatoes. Yeah, sounds nice. Hmm. Oh, not slice. I need to do chunker. I really like foods like curry. I think I really like Indian curries recently. Like I'm going to like Indian restaurants and just ordering random curries each time I go there, and like the restaurant owner now remembers my face. Like he's like, "What are you gonna order this time?" Like, let me try this one. Yeah, my current trend is like just eating Indian curry. I did try some like more Thai food, but Thai food doesn't really fit my taste buds. I don't know. I don't know why, but it doesn't. I tend to not like sour food. What do you call those? Bit like it's not spicy, but it's more sour. And Thai food, Vietnam food is more sometimes like on the sour end compared to the spicy ones. I tend to prefer spicy compared to sour. can I see the eyes alone? Quick, eyes. Yeah, so it's just a circle with a couple of like topologies, couple of subdivisions. It's just painting the outside borders a bit darker than the inner portion. I tend to use the circle, so what I do is, let me just hide this. I tend to just use the insert circle and then get the mesh into position like this. And then I tend to use the Z project to get it into position and match the face contours, and then move it outside and just divide. Simple as that. And then if you want to do the opposite, you can just duplicate and then do the opposite side, or you can just use the mirror if you're starting from the T-pose. So I usually tend to do the eyes and the T-pose, and then if I'm posing them, and then if I want to move the eyes, I just use the move topological with draw size 1, which moves the entire eye because it's a separate object, and it's just like moving the entire island of geometry. And this doesn't match the, like, it's going off from the surface, right? So what I would do is like look at it from the angle where I want to match this, and then I just use the Z project and then project it onto the surface. And then if I need to move this off from the surface, I just need to move topology 1 and then just pull it out like this. Simple, right? So if I use the move topology with brush size 1, I can just move this eye like this and then move it to the opposite side if I wanted to. So other artists tend to like not separate the eyes, and like for example Sakaki Karu would directly paint the eyes on the surface, but for me it's harder to control if I change the pose or if I change the eyes, or like if I want to change them slightly, it's going to take me more time to edit or like tweak the eyes. So I usually have it separated, and because it's separated I can just tweak the subdivision levels a bit more higher than the face itself. So for example, if I look at the face, it has 300K. So it's pretty dense already. But if I wanted to paint an eye which is more like looking like more decent, it's gonna require more poly counts, and you don't want to have a huge poly count at the beginning because it's gonna be like hard to tweak, right? Where can I see your models? You can see them on Instagram. I'll send you the link. Or you can just go to ZBrush Central and then search Pixologic Daisuke. So I'm gonna send you my activity, and you can just check out this. Oh, no, not activities. Just get rid of the activities. You're just gonna see the if you go to the summary, and then you can see the post I'm doing. So good way to move eyes. Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Like you just need to get the hang of it. Oh, okay. And then I just need to expand the visibility, grow, and I just need to tweak this. Like this. I can make it clean afterwards. Like I can just like delete this part and stuff like that. I'm not gonna bother for now. I can do those later on if I wanted to. And I'm gonna use the cheat for my frills. There's a existing brush you can download from ZBrush Central, and you can just turn off the lazy mouse and then insert a curve like this, and pretty easy, right? And what I want to do is, let me see. I don't want to. Okay, I'm just like drawing the lines. Can't be bothered to align it. I just need to tweak the size, and yeah, something like this. We can go bigger. And then I just need to tweak the depths if I need. And I think it's better to separate the mesh at this point, separate parts. And then since it looks really the same, so I'm gonna tweak this with the brush and move it around slightly so it doesn't look exactly the same all around. Is there a way to reset the spotlight texture from not painting correctly without restarting? From not painting correctly? Right now it's not painting what I have on my spotlight. I think what you're doing is, like for example, if I have a mesh like this, and then if I have a texture like this, and if it's not painting properly, if I switch to standard, and then if I press RGB button, and then select the aprons, and then if I start doing this without the add, it's gonna paint, right? But if it's not painting, you can go to the brush samples, and then you have the button called press. you have the button called spotlight projection, and if this is off, you can't paint it. It's not gonna paint. It paints, but it's offset. So if it's offset, it's just having the Z add. So spotlight projection on, and then if you have Z add, it's just gonna sculpt the grayscale difference. So what you want to do is, if you want to paint, then you just need to turn on the RGB and eliminate the Z add, and then just paint. It is painting, but it's painting another part of the spotlight. Another part? What? What do you mean by another part? I don't get it. Oh, so you mean the spotlight, like brush position, is not really matching where you're showing the spotlight itself? There could be a couple of factors. So one factor could be the scaling issue you have. So if the document size is not matching the screen size, you're going to have a scale factor assigned to this canvas. So what you want to do is, for example, if I zoom, like it's going to be really, really jagged, right? Like this has really zoomed up scale. I'm not sure if you can see this on screen, but you need to press this actual size, which is a hotkey 0. And then if you press this, it's going to be 100% like matching scale on the canvas itself. So you have the perfect painting, but if you, I think you're scaling. So if I try this and then, wait, is it matching? It seems matching. What? You could paint textures, you know. What? No, I think he's having an internal issue. Then usually the canvas scaling would be the cause of it, but I don't know. Well, you can send us a support ticket, then we can take a look. You can go to support Pixologic and start a conversation here. We want to see the actual DPR file, so if you can save the project file and then send it to us, we can take a look and then see what kind of issue is happening. Also, if you have like array mesh or some brush setting, which is not from the usual setting, that might be a cause. But you could have a couple of cases where you're not aware of the settings and then it's causing the issue. Well, we don't really share data, so even if it's work related, you can show it to us. But yeah, if you don't want to risk having those kind of like situations, then yeah, it's understandable. Oh, my time has passed. So I started from, I think it's 6:30 to this time. So I've been streaming for 2 hours. So basically my time is gone. And I think we have Derek again from 9 o'clock, if I'm correct. Google Calendar. Yep, so I'm gonna get off the stream in 5 minutes. Let me just let me just do this. Do you stream on your account? What account? I do have my personal Twitch account, but I'm not really using it lately. Like I'm busy on the weekends as well. Like I'm doing my personal stuff, and it's boring stuff. Like I'm just listing parts right now. So I don't really want to do any recording or do any streaming when it's that boring. It's not fun to watch. Like it's just hella boring. Oh, thanks. think I can just flip this opposite side. Duplicate and rotate. Maybe not mirror. Let me see. Duplicate. Mirror Z. And then tweaking the rotation a bit. I'm not aware of any glitch for the position of spotlights, but yeah, if it solves by restarting, then yeah, that's weird. Like, well, if you see a pattern, just let us know. We can take a look. Like, if you set a specific parameter and then it starts happening, then that's a pattern. Well, thanks for letting us know. Yep. Yeah, if we have more information related to the stuff, then we can take a look. It's better to have more information than less, so yes. If you could, that would be helpful. I may prefer black compared to the white color. Maybe a darker on the ribbons. That could be nice. Yeah. Maybe I'll just send it underneath then. It looks weird when it's flapping over the surface. Okay, I'm gonna end my stream here. Say hey to Derek, who's coming up next in 15 minutes. Yeah. So see you next week. Next week will be in Japanese. Next week will be in English. So thanks for watching. Bye.